Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the May board meeting of the Urban Development Corporation, doing business as the Empire State Development Corporation. My name is Kevin Law and I chair the board. I'd like to remind staff members joining us remotely today to please mute your audio until you're ready to speak. And then when you do, please state your name before you begin to speak. I'd like to note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to attend today's meeting and to provide written comments on the agenda items. And we have received both. We have received both written comments that have been shared with all the board members, and we have several members of the public who will be commenting here today, mostly on item 2A related to 5 World Trade Center. And again, those comments were distributed to the directors and have been posted online on the ESD website page. All the directors, as always, have received the written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time during the presentations. I will ask at this time if the directors, if anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. I'll start and I'll be recusing myself on item related to a Long Island project, regional project 3, and I'll get to that when we get to that item in the agenda. And I believe Hilda, you have a recusal as well?
Yes.
For an item related to Rochester.
Museum of Clay.
And when we get to that item, you could put that on the record.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. This time I'd like to go around the horn like we always do to identify the board members with us and the key staff members from ESD who are joining us today. Our president and CEO, Hope Knight, could not join us today. I believe she's traveling with the governor upstate today, but we are in the good hands of our COO, Kevin Eunice, to my left. So thank you, Kevin. And then why don't we go here, Rosa?
Hilda Rosario Escher, Director.
Benson Martin, designee for the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Amber Runhel, ESD.
Goldie Wexel, Acting Counsel. Elisa Hochgeiser, Director of Compliance.
Orlando, Chief Financial Officer.
Matt Gray, Treasurer.
Joel Kolkman, Real Estate and Planning.
Toby Jaisimi, Real Estate and Community Relations.
Liz Luskin, EVP, Small Business and Technology Development.
Arden Sokolow, EVP of Real Estate and Planning.
Noah Raymond, Chief of Staff.
John Wong, Director.
Sherry Glee, Director.
Very good. And so with John and Sherry and Hilda and Benson and myself, we indeed have a quorum for today's meeting. I believe Michael Rose, the director, is also participating and listening on the phone. So good morning, Michael. Okay. One item before we get to business, I wanted to mention that today is Sherry Glee's last meeting. She's taken on additional responsibilities at her main job over at NYU. And I wanted to, on behalf of Hope and the team here at ESD and all of your fellow board members, Sherry, thank you for your years of service here and for your commitment to the state, the city, and to ESD. And we wish you Godspeed in your future plans.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.
I miss you.
Great. Well, thank you. The first item on today's agenda, then we'll get right to the agenda, is the approval of the minutes of April 20th, 2023 directors meeting. I will move them and Hilda seconds them. Any comments, revisions, or additions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. We are having a technical thing, I'm just told. That means a technical difficulty. And because we're streamlining and other members of the public throughout the state could be participating, we will try to fix the glitch. I hope everyone got to hear my nice words about Sherry, though.
It's okay.
Right.
The what?
Are we good? Did we miss anything that we have to go redo on the record? We heard everything. Okay. So the minutes are approved. We have two oral reports and presentations before we get to items on the agenda relating to projects. I will first call on Kevin Eunice, ESD's Chief Operating Officer, to provide Hope Night's President's report.
Hey, Kevin, thank you. Just want to know for the record, in case I will be voting on behalf of Hope today too.
Got it. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So even without you, we have a quorum, and now you just add
Double quorum.
Double quorum.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very good.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, directors. Hope, as Kevin said, is in Western New York today and asked me to step in and do the update. Governor Hochul and the state legislature enacted the state budget this month, I think. Yeah. And that enacted budget includes key economic development priorities that will really strengthen and build on the work that we do here at ESD. And I just want to highlight a few items. First, I would talk about the enacted budget, including the modernization and revamping of the New York State Film Tax Program. A really substantial increase, expanding the annual cap to $700 million from $420 million. They increase the credit amount of qualified costs from 25 to 30 and includes some above the line costs. This will provide incentives for productions relocating from other states as well. These changes were really important to ensure that New York stays competitive in this classic New York State industry. Since the inception of the program has returned roughly $9 for each dollar, $9 in economic activity for each dollar of tax credit that has been provided. And over $35 billion in spend has occurred related to the tax credit program since 2014, when the program was created. The budget also includes a new $6 million technology innovation matching grant program to be run by ESD division NISTAR. More than half of states in the country have a matching grant program for applicants seeking federal small business innovation research and small business technology transfer funding, known as America's Seed Fund. New York did not, and frankly, I think that put us at a competitive disadvantage. This program will provide matching grants to recipients of that federal funding, and the matching investment will support the growth of small businesses and scientific development in New York. Additionally, the budget included a grant program called the Small Business and Entrepreneurs Grant Program. It's a $400,000 program, which will make, I would call micro grants, $5,000 to $25,000 for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Funding can cover startup costs of a new small business or support or expand an existing small business in New York. Importantly, these applicants must be graduates of New York's Entrepreneurial Assistance Center programs. We also included an expansion or some amendments to the linked deposit program. The linked deposit program is a really cool program we have at ESD, where businesses are offered sort of a reduced rate loan via state deposits into banks, where we take a lesser interest rate, and small businesses benefit from a lower interest rate. This year, we made some amendments to the program where we increased the lifetime cap for loans to $6 million from $2 million, and we increased the loan amount, the max loan amount, from $2 million to $6 million as well. These caps haven't been adjusted in over a decade. It just means we can do larger loans, and we can, support more small businesses, particularly in this high interest environment. That interest buy down is pretty attractive. Since 1994, over 6,000 businesses have been awarded $2 billion in loans. It's a really neat program. The budget also includes $50 million for the Restore New York program. Restore New York has had, I think, 7 previous rounds. It's been a very popular program. Restore New York is for rehabilitation, deconstruction of usually blighted properties in urban cores. So we'll have another around 8 of that program with this additional $50 million. Want to also just, if you don't mind, just to quickly list the folks. A lot of folks work. These are long hours. People working weekends, they're working nights. So I just want to quickly run through a list of ESD staff who have been working really hard on this. So first of all, Allison.
On this program or on the budget?
On the budget.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a number of different programs, but Allison Gabir, the head of our policy team, leads that effort. She's been amazing and really just stepped in. I think this is her first year leading that team during the budget. She's always been killing it, but this year in particular, really great to have her there. Allison Kabir, Tom Regan in council, Kyle Satchel in council, Don Sanders from MWB, Rhoda Glickman, and the whole film tax. That was a big part of the budget discussion the year was the film tax credit program. So Rhoda and the team were really great. Elizabeth Morrissey, who works for Allison, Liz and her team working closely on all the small business, and Paul Matros with our tax credit team, who's supported both film tax and a number of other efforts during the budget. So on behalf of Hope, just want to thank all of ESD's team and thank them all for their hard work.
Great, thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
We'll add the board's thanks as well. I'm always impressed with the caliber and the quality and the professionalism of the staff here. And so they all do a great job. And a lot of those people who I actually don't know, because they're probably more behind the scenes players in a lot of the, and we get to see more of the programmatic people. So thanks for acknowledging them, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Any board members have any questions for Kevin? All right. Thank you. Next up, we have every board meeting, we do a presentation on some program that ESD administers, very educational for the board members as well as the public. And today we're fortunate to have Amber Rengel. She's our VP and Director of Workforce Development, and she will be doing the spotlight presentation on the Office of Strategic Workforce Development and the first year accomplishments of that office. Amber, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, directors. So the Office of Strategic Workforce Development was funded last year in the governor's $350 million investment in workforce development. Our office is just $150 million of that, but we're very excited to be leading the charge in all things workforce as they relate to ESD's strategic focus on industry. So our key priorities are industry-driven workforce development. Unlike a lot of other ESD incentives for businesses, this is funding training and education providers partnering with business and industry. So it's for business and industry. We do want to make sure that they're getting the benefit and they're partnered with training and education providers, but it's not directly going to business. We do have a strategic focus on good jobs with a definition in our guidelines. Good jobs looking at living wages and pathways to family sustaining wages in high growth industries. And one thing that we're very excited about is the opportunity to expand opportunities for historically marginalized communities through providing wraparound services such as childcare, transportation. So we do have some flexible funding for that. We also are very data and outcomes driven. So we have a data and outcomes driven award, and we will be collecting lots of information to publicly post on our website and through dashboards once we start to collect some outcomes data. So we want to make sure that we're funding what continues to be successful and reevaluating if we're not achieving the success that we need. So this is just a snapshot of the high growth industries that we are targeting. Many align with ESD's strategic priorities. We worked with the REDCs to define this list. So these are the statewide targeted industries. And then we also have a number of regional targeted industries as well. So the next one's a bit of an eye test, but things like agribusiness and offshore wind certainly don't make the statewide targets, but they are priorities for certain regions. So the first program is a $35 million capital grant program. This is a very generous award. ESD is covering up to 50% of the total project cost, which is a little bit higher than traditional. And the awards range from $100,000 to $3 million. And these are for projects that are directly funding training and education providers and the technology needed for training. Our pay for performance program has two program tracks. This is the flexible funding. This is operating funding. So the operating grants are for a wide range of programmatic costs, from curriculum development to trainee support services, wraparound services, childcare, transportation. This again is another very generous award. ESD is providing up to 75% of the total project costs for awards ranging from $50,000 up to $1 million. And this is to date our highest in the number one category of applications we receive and awards we've given. The Capacity Building Award is a data metrics driven award. This is for existing programs who are placing trainees directly into good jobs. So the award's based on the number of trainees placed in good jobs in the previous calendar year. We want to recognize the organizations doing the good work already and help them expand capacity. Our submission timeline for the year is now on a quarterly basis. We're currently evaluating round 3 for the first quarter, and then have deadlines the next few quarters. We started, so I started in August. We launched our program in October. We made our first a round of awards in December, our second in March, and now we're moving to a more sustainable quarterly basis for awards.
Do you have a rolling basis application?
Yes.
Like the REDCs do?
Yep. So they're open on a rolling basis, and we just batch them quarterly. These are some of the metrics that I mentioned that we'll be tracking and reporting on: the enrollment and completion, credentials earned, and then some post job placement earnings, and looking at the growth of those earnings over time as well. We do have our first year progress report. As I mentioned, the office, officially launched late last summer, early fall, but the governor's announcement was last April. So to align with the governor's announcement, we had a 1-year progress report in roughly 8 months, which we're very proud of. And some of the core functions of the office, things that we've hit the ground running and already started with and are going to continue in the coming years, are to drive innovative high impact workforce programming, to continue to fund innovative approaches to workforce development. We're going to continue to work with the regional councils and with our other ESD colleagues on identifying strategic industries and places where there are training and education gaps, and also connecting the dots across regions and industries, really looking at scaling programs that are working in some regions and where there's a need in other regions. So, and while working with our Department of Labor and SUNY and CUNY colleagues as well. To date, we've had 22 awards for over $13 million, training over 6,600 New Yorkers, partnering with over 200 businesses, and leveraging over $10 million in matching funds. That is just in the first 2 rounds. So we're really excited to continue this work over the next year and provide even a larger impact. The next, our annual report kind of outlines the year ahead. We are working on establishing a resource hub for grantees to define some best practices. So in addition to our guidelines for applying for the award, we want to provide them with some best practices in things like, partnering with industry and providing wraparound services. The regional strategies. So the last December, the Regional Economic Development Councils all did a regional workforce strategy that was a regional report. We've incorporated some of that information into our report, and we'll continue to work with the regional councils in leveraging their regional strategies as well. So we have links in our report to the regional strategies, and also here. We are, essentially getting out. I did 3 REDC meeting presentations last week. We're getting out, doing lots of presentations, sharing information. We want to make sure that the people who need access to this funding have it. So we've been encouraging people to, all the resources are on our website, to reach out to our email. We have staff answering the email questions from the public. I have an extensive FAQ and have email alerts for people interested in news from the office. So with that, any questions from the board?
Great. Well, thank you very much, Amber. I'll start off. I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
I know a lot of the workforce training initiatives for ESD are relatively new, and the Department of Labor used to handle a lot of that. Do we handle all workforce training initiatives now, or does DOL still administer some, and what do they do and what do we not do?
So DOL still has everything that DOL has always had. I like to remind people that it's a mouthful, but the Office of Strategic Workforce Development is essentially carving out our piece. We have $150 million in workforce funding for our, regional investments and our investments that are going to support our industries. So DOL still has all their funding, still, in control of all their funding. Under the $350 million investment, the governor also invested $109 million in the Department of Health. And with this recently enacted budget, doubled that. So now there's $218 million in health, because healthcare is one of the questions we get often, because we're not focused on healthcare, but the Department of Health has $218 million now to focus on healthcare workforce initiatives. So we're really the other piece about connecting dots across regions and agencies. We're not controlling what the other agencies have, what SUNY and CUNY have. We're really partnering with them and aligning metrics and aligning reporting and aligning resources, and just really working, trying to work collaboratively with them and identifying, this is something that is in DOL's lane. This is something that's in SUNY and CUNY's lane. And, not that we all need to stay in our lane, but just kind of identifying this is being done here and we don't necessarily need to invest there.
Okay, so there's collaboration with all state agencies
Yeah.
to avoid any duplication of efforts. So that's good. My last question, then I'll go to Hilda and Sherry. I know we partner with a lot of the colleges on the workforce training, but for kids who don't need to go to college because they could get trained in other good jobs, do we also work with the various BOCES throughout the state? And do they get to participate in your programs as well?
Yes, we've already funded, I think, at least one BOCES program, but nonprofit and for-profit training and education providers, the K-12 training and education providers, but particularly BOCES and K-12 programs that are going directly into the workforce are eligible for our funding, as are unions and colleges, higher education,
Great.
four-year
Great to hear.
and community colleges.
Sure.
So are you sharing data with the Department of Labor, like unemployment data and things like that will help you in evaluation? And is there a coherent evaluation strategy across all of the departments that are doing workforce training?
So DOL is the owner of it. I mean, they
share with you?
we do, yes. So they have an extensive data shop that we've gotten information from. We're the platform that we're developing for reporting under the $350 million across agencies is actually housed at the Department of Labor. We're utilizing their one-stop operating system, OSOS. So DOL is a very strong partner in the data situation. Yeah. As they should be, since
Yeah, the wraparound services, the applicants have to have that plan included in their proposal.
it is they need to show something. So some of the applicants and even awardees are partnered with organizations who are, more social service providers. So we are looking for it. So we're trying to target historically marginalized communities, and we understand that there are needs, associated. We need to remove barriers to employment. So we encourage partnerships. So if you're a training and organization provider who is doing a great job with the training, has great business partnerships, but you don't necessarily have the strong social services side, we encourage partnerships. And we have a couple of examples of those, of organizations who are partnering with social service type organizations and community-based organizations who are providing access to wraparound services, mental health care, career coaching, and all that. So it does need to be part of the application.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Amber? All right. Well, thank you very much, Amber. So now we'll continue with our agenda, and we'll go to the project section of our agenda. And out of respect to members of the public who came here, wishing to speak, we're going to take that item out of order, and we'll do that project now, so they don't have to wait and listen to the couple of dozen other projects that we will be voting on today. So I'm going to hand this over to Toby J. Ayasimi. She's our AVP of Real Estate and Community Relations, and we also have Arda here and other members of the real estate team to answer any questions that board members have on this real estate transaction. So Toby.
Thank you. Good morning, directors. Good morning, Chair. The directors are requested to take action on the World Trade Center Site 5 development project related to affirmation of amendments to the modified general project plan, override local zoning regulations, authorize the acquisition and disposition of real property, provide authorization to execute an initial agreement, deed, and project documents, and authorization for staff to take related actions. The proposed project was first introduced to the directors over 2 years ago. So before continuing with today's request, I'd like to offer some background information. The World Trade Center Site 5 General Project Plan was originally adopted by the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation, ESD subsidiary, in 2004 to provide for memorial and cultural uses, as well as commercial redevelopment of the World Trade Center after the September 11 attacks. The plan provided for 5 commercial towers, public open space, and a performing arts center surrounding the Memorial and Memorial Museum. The 2004 World Trade Center General Project Plan allowed for commercial and/or hotel use on Site 5. Site 5, located at 130 Liberty Street, is the southernmost site of the World Trade Center campus and the location of the former Deutsche Bank building, which was severely damaged on 9/11. LMDC, using federal community development block grant funds to acquire, remediate, and clear Site 5. In 2006, the Port Authority and LMDC entered into a memorandum of understanding by which LMDC would swap 130 and 140 Liberty Street, including Site 5, with the Port Authority for property it owned at the center of the campus to enable the 9/11 Memorial and Memorial Museum, as well as the Performing Arts Center, to be built within and proximate to the footprints of the Twin Towers. In response to Community Board 1 input, LMDC began discussions with the Port Authority about the possibility of allowing for residential development at Site 5. In 2019, LMDC and the Port Authority entered into another memorandum of understanding to jointly issue an RFP for Site 5 that would allow as-of-right commercial development or mixed-use development, including a requirement for an affordable housing component, which would require a modification to the general project plan. In early 2021, after a competitive RFP process, a mixed-use project and a development team of Silverstein Properties, Brookfield Properties, the Bar Development, and Omni New York was conditionally designated. Since conditional designation, there have been over 30 public engagement meetings on the proposed project, including meetings with the Community Advisory Committee, presentations to Manhattan Community Board 1, and meetings with project stakeholders such as the Coalition for 100% Affordable World Trade Center Site 5. When the proposed project was first introduced, the public review process for the modifications to the general project plan to allow for mixed-use development, as well as the public review process for the real estate transaction and deal terms were expected to be carried out simultaneously. However, in response to requests from local elected officials and to allow for more time for discussions around increasing the project's affordability requirement, the processes were bifurcated. The World Trade Center project was presented to the directors in November 2021 for consideration of the modifications to the World Trade Center General Project Plan. In April 2022, after a public hearing, which was held in January, and a public comment period, which was open through mid-February, the directors approved the modifications to allow for mixed-use development, in addition to the already approved commercial use at the site. In July 2022, the directors approved the start of the public review process for the proposed project, including an amendment to the MGPP to override certain zoning requirements to allow for construction of the project in accordance with the mixed-use design guidelines and the proposed real estate transactions. A virtual public hearing was conducted on September 15, 2022, followed by a public comment period through October 17, 2022. 19 of the 27 commenters during the public hearing called for an increase in affordability, most demanding a 100% affordable project. There were 8 supportive commenters who highlighted the opportunity to create thousands of construction jobs and develop a mixed-use tower with hundreds of affordable units without public direct cash subsidy. Of the 18 written comments submitted through the close of the public comment period, 14 comments urged for increased affordability and 4 comments provided general support for the proposed project. In response to the public comments, requests from local elected officials spanning over 2 years of discussions, and to deliver additional public benefit, the proposed project's affordability requirements have increased from 25% to 30%. The proposed project would deliver a minimum of the 1,200 residential units with 30% as permanently affordable at an average of 85% of area median income. This means that 360 low to moderate income earning households will be able to apply to live in Lower Manhattan. 1/3 of the affordable units, or approximately 120 units, will be leased at 60% of area median income. That's earnings at approximately $56,000 annually for an individual and $80,000 annually for a family of 4. The proposed change does not require public subsidy. The permanent affordable housing requirements would be governed by a regulatory agreement to be administered by New York State's Affordable Housing Agency, Homes and Community Renewal. The regulatory agreement will address unit distribution, marketing, and leasing requirements, as well as compliance with HCR's requirements. The project may deliver additional affordable housing units if public subsidy or public source of funding is identified by April 2024. Increasing the number of affordable units would require millions of dollars in subsidy. For example, per analysis provided by the development team and shared in various public presentations, approximately $120 million would be needed to increase the affordability to 37.5% of the units at an average of 80% of area median income. Increasing affordability to 50% of the units would require approximately $500 million in subsidy. Last year, the Coalition for 100% Affordable World Trade Center Site 5 issued a feasibility study that presented 2 options for a 100% affordable project. The first option, a 1,600 unit building, would require at least $600 million in subsidy. And the second option, an 800 unit building, would require at least $154 million in subsidy. The coalition's analysis assumed that the land would be offered at a nominal amount, taking away the $249 million appraised value of the site. Further, the analysis did not consider the equity need, value of the hundreds of Section 8 vouchers proposed, cost of operating and maintaining the 100% affordable tower in perpetuity. As described in the materials, the proposed project would deliver office space, retail, a community facility, a connection to Liberty Park, and approximately 1,200 residential units, of which at least a minimum, again, approximately 360 will be permanently affordable units leased to households earning at an average of 85% of area median income. The estimated total development cost is over $1 billion, and during construction, the annual base rent would be $1,345,000, and after construction, the annual base rent steps up to the greater of 21% of cash flow before debt service, or a minimum base rent of $12.5 million. Per the 2006 MOU I described earlier, the rent payments would be made to the Port Authority as a result of the exchange for the museum and memorial sites. The proposed project would be subject to a payment in lieu of taxes or pilot agreement that would require the tenant to make payments to the City of New York equivalent to real estate taxes applicable to the property if ESD were not owner of the site, reduced by the equivalent value of the Affordable Housing Benefit Program 421A. I'd like to note that the mixed-use design guidelines have been revised to enhance the guidelines for the community facility and for vertical circulation to the community facility, including the pedestrian bridge to Liberty Park and the through-site connection. On May 16, the LMDC board, ESD subsidiary, voted to approve the proposed project. With this real estate transaction, LMDC would transfer the site to ESD, and ESD would enter into a long-term lease with the developer, again with the rent payments being directed to the Port Authority. With the requested actions, the directors will affirm amendments to the modified general project plan, override local zoning regulations, authorize the site acquisition and disposition, provide authorization for staff to execute an initial agreement, deed, and project documents, and authorization for staff to take related action. I'd like to note that there is also a revenue sharing agreement related to the project, and discussions around the negotiations of that revenue sharing agreement will be carried out by senior staff. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Toby, that was a terrific presentation on a rather complicated real estate transaction, and you walked us through it smoothly. And I just want to make sure that myself and the other board members just understand the basic elements of the deal. And if I have this right, based on the materials I read and your presentation, so LMDC owns it now.
Yes.
They are going to transfer fee title to ESD. ESD is going to then enter into a 99-year ground lease with the developer. At the end of the lease, Port Authority will take title to the property. And during the lease, Port Authority is entitled to the rental payments because of the transfer of the property for the other uses that you mentioned before.
That's correct.
Do we have that right?
Yes, for the 9/11 museum and memorial sites.
Great, thank you. And one other question on the affordables. So 30% of the units are going to be permanently affordable. And then out of the affordables, is it 1/3 of them will be at the 60% median income level?
That's correct. When the project was first introduced, it was introduced with 25% affordable requirements, so a quarter of the units. And again, as a result of these discussions, and without having identified or found a public subsidy source giving the sheer cost and volume of it, the project's affordability has been increased to 30%. In that 30% affordability requirements, we're providing for a mixed income and diverse development. So you will have low to moderate income units, the low income units, of course, being the 60% option that I referenced. And then there will be another third of the units at an 85% AMI band. And then another third, another 10% of the units at 110% of area median income. So when you take those three tranches together, you have the average of 85% of area median income, which again provides for an economically diverse range of affordability. At the 110% AMI tranche, you're looking at a household where there might be two public servants. There might be those who offer for a teacher or a nurse, and that income is able to support that income band, and again, provide for both low to moderate income units in the project.
Great. Thank you very much. Before we get to questions from or comments from the public, other board members have any questions for Toby? Okay, hearing that. As I mentioned earlier, we received, and all directors received, a copy of written comments, some of them from elected officials at the federal, state, and local level that we received and that have been posted on the ESD web page. We do have members of the public here with us today. We're going to have Joel Kolkman from ESD Real Estate administer and manage the public speakers. And I'm going to ask each public speaker, as all state agencies do, request you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. So Joel, will you manage the public speakers that we have? And we'll ask each person to state their name for the record, as well as the organization or entity they may be representing. But if you have any other do's and don'ts, Joel, please state them now.
I think you got everything. Thank you. So with that, I'll call the first 5 speakers. We have Emily Lang, Connor Allerton, Camille McLean, Carol Lamberg, and Sarah Pennenberg. And so Emily Lang.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Emily Lang, and I'm speaking today on behalf of State Senator Brian Kavanaugh, who represents the 5 World Trade Center site. As we've already expressed in multiple different forums, including a press conference, press release, and official letter, we want to reiterate that we are strongly opposed to moving forward with the public approvals for the proposed project and related real estate transactions at World Trade Center Site 5 before securing the additional resources necessary to increase affordability at the site. We urge you to pause now and reconsider. All of the elected officials, including Councilmember Marte, whose office is represented here, as well as Congressman Dan Goldman, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, Assemblymember Charles Fall, Manhattan Community Board 1, and community advocates are unanimous in our opposition to moving forward. Five World Trade Center is publicly owned land and a tremendous opportunity to bring sorely needed large-scale affordable housing downtown. We strongly believe that public agencies that control a major development site in a community where affordable housing is so scarce would work to provide greater levels of affordability than deals that are typically done on private development sites. And we urge ESD, LMDC, and the Port Authority to continue to work with the state and the city, the developers, the elected officials, and the community to identify additional funding sources before moving forward. Again, we strongly urge you to pause and reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connor Allerton.
Sorry. Hello. And thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm here speaking on behalf of Christopher Marte, council member for District 1 in Lower Manhattan. As council member, I represent the World Trade Center campus, as well as the diverse neighborhoods of Lower Manhattan, all in dire need of affordable housing. Members of these communities have come out in unanimous support for 100% affordability at this site, and I've stood with them since my first day in office. This current 30% proposal, 5% more affordable units than originally proposed, but at higher average incomes, is not more affordable and is not enough. I want to reiterate on behalf of the district I represent my opposition to an approval of the plan as proposed today and demand alongside my fellow elected officials that ESD work with us to exhaust the numerous funding sources identified at the city and state levels that could make this project as affordable as possible for the New Yorkers who desperately need it. I believe that sources such as the Battery Park City Joint Fund, the Port Authority, LMDC, HUD sources, and vouchers, and other city and state sources, as well as further investment from the development team, have not been fully explored and could reach far more affordability on this site. This is a unique opportunity, and I urge you to pause this action until we can fully realize the potential of this site. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Camille McLean.
Hear me okay?
Would you like to fix the microphone? Is that, I'm having an issue with the audio?
Just thank you. Just leave it where it was.
Okay, sorry. Tall. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to offer comments on the proposed development of the 5 World Trade Center site. My name is Camille McLean, and I am speaking on behalf of the Citizens Housing and Planning Council, CHPC, a nonprofit civic organization dedicated to the city's housing and planning needs. Public discussions of affordable housing sometimes make it seem like achieving affordability is an act of will, when it is really a decision about the distribution of resources. The creation of affordable housing in Lower Manhattan is indeed an important opportunity. On its own, maximizing affordability here sounds like an unquestionable good, but it's important to examine not just opportunity, but also opportunity cost. What would funds otherwise achieve if they were not dedicated to this project? The affordability in the ESD-sponsored proposal would be paid for through a pilot arrangement that exchanges future public revenues for affordability, mimicking how tax incentives for mixed-income housing have worked. These foregone revenues would not exist in the absence of this project and could not be spent for other purposes. This is an important contrast with the idea of tapping into other public subsidy programs to address affordability goals. New York typically spends all the funds appropriated for affordable housing. So directing more into one project means there's less available for the many other affordable housing developments seeking funding. And with a high-cost building such as this one, steering resources from one project or neighborhood to another can actually reduce the total amount of affordable housing public dollars can buy. We are not suggesting that government should not use its resources in high-cost locations, but this does pose difficult choices that should not be ignored. Putting other funding sources into this project could mean putting off unspecified affordable housing investments in neighborhoods such as the South Bronx or Central Brooklyn. But the review of local projects does not typically involve consultation with other neighborhoods or their representatives. It is important to give voice to those communities that might otherwise quietly be deprived of affordable housing resources. In acting, we urge ESD to consider funding issues responsibly, not only for what helps affordable housing in this neighborhood, but also for affordability for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Great. Carol Lamberg.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm a board member of Citizens Housing and Planning and respect the agency, but I couldn't disagree more with the former testament. We have so much political support for 100% affordability from Congressman Goldman, from all the speakers who spoke before. We could find new sources that wouldn't deplete the existing city-state funding. My goodness, my favorite program, I've worked in affordable housing for over 50 years. I was executive director of Settlement Housing Fund for 30 years and have worked on unique projects like the first rebuilding of the South Bronx and Manhattan Plaza for performing artists, which revived 42nd Street. This is a very special opportunity. The Coalition for Affordable Site 5, it's such a pleasure to work with them. They want to have priorities or at least special outreach to first responders and 9/11 survivors and to achieve diversity. When you get that from a community, and Community Board 1 agreed, government should respond. It doesn't happen that often. The city and state, I'm sorry, CHPC, all have said affordable housing in every neighborhood, including high-income neighborhoods that have the resources that could make the residents achieve upward mobility in the future. You don't get a chance like this every day. So at least I know we could probably get a reservation of vouchers from around the country if we went to Secretary of HUD, vouchers that weren't used. If we got a few, say 300 vouchers out of the hundreds of thousands that are issued, we could certainly get up to 50% affordability and maybe find an appropriation or leftover money from the World Trade Center that people say can't be used. Well, let's make it usable. Let's do something. Let's not find reasons not to do something. It would be, again, an opportunity that doesn't come every day. I'm proud of every project that Settlement Housing Fund developed. They're 30 years later, they're thriving and economically, socially. So let's do something unique here. Let's have 100% affordable or as high as affordability as we can get on Site 5 World Trade Center with special outreach to first responders and 9/11 survivors and to achieve diversity. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Sarah Pennenberg.
Thank you, Empire State Development Directors, and good morning. My name is Sarah Pennenberg, Political Coordinator with SEIU 32BJ. Thank you for this opportunity to provide comment on 5 World Trade Center. SEIU is the largest property service union in the nation, representing 175,000 members across 11 states in Washington, D.C. 32BJ members are the backbone of the property service sector in New York City, performing essential work in commercial and residential buildings, stadiums, airports, and many more locations. Our members are diverse, but we are united in our cause to raise employment standards across our industry. The union is pleased to share that it has received a credible commitment from the developers of 5 World Trade with respect to creating family-sustaining business service jobs. These jobs mean prevailing wages and benefit standards that 32BJ members have fought for and achieved in the industry. 5 World Trade is projected to create 10,000 construction jobs and 1,900 permanent jobs, generating $1.9 billion in economic outreach. These employment opportunities and economic growth is essential for the city's resurgence and providing a much-needed boost to the local economy. The proposed development delivers approximately 1,200 residential apartments, with 30% of them being affordable, 360 units designated as permanently affordable housing. Giving the severe shortage of affordable housing will produce 5 times the number of affordable housing typically created in the area in a year. This will be achieved without any public subsidies, making these homes permanently affordable. A notable feature of the development is an 11,000 square foot community space that will be operated by Education Alliance. Education Alliance is an ideal partner for the site. The community facility will be open to the public. Education Alliance is actively engaging in the community to ensure that the programs and services offered and catered to the needs of the residents. In summary, 5 World Trade Development is an integrated property of Lower Manhattan, New York as a whole, and I urge you to support the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be calling the next group of speakers. We have Daisy Paez, Josh Notchwitz, Victoria Fariello, and Anya Horberger.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daisy Paez. I am a lifelong resident of the Lower East Side. I am a district leader of Assembly District 65 Part B, and I am a proud member of the Educational Alliance community. I'm here to give my strong support for the planned 5 World Trade Center Community Center development. Moving this project forward will allow Education Alliance to expand into a state-of-the-art facility in a landmark location and allow them to better serve the needs of all New Yorkers, to understand just how special an organization like Education Alliance is and how invested they are in the Lower Manhattan community. You just have to look at my story. I was first introduced to Education Alliance when I was a young mother looking for daycare. At the time, I was 35, had no job, no training, and a young child. Life was very stressful. But after enrolling my daughter at Education Alliance, I found out they were just as interested in my success as they were in hers. With Education Alliance support and much encouragement, I was able to get my GED and eventually attend some college. They gave me a job as a receptionist, and I retired 25 years later as the Manny Cantor Community Liaison, helping to bring important issues from the community to the attention of Education Alliance leadership and helping the community understand the many resources Education Alliance has to offer. What I want everybody here to understand is that my story is not unique. Education Alliance has helped so many people who lived in the Lower Manhattan achieve their dreams. And what makes Education Alliance so special is that they understand everyone's vision of American dream is different. They believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to achieve their dreams, no matter their background, their race, or gender. All are welcome to receive the tools to better build a better path for their future. That is why they have always remained invested in the success of the people of the Lower East Side. And it's why they always show up for New Yorkers when we need them the most, whether it was after the tragedy of 9/11, the devastation of Hurricane Sandy, or now with the COVID-19 pandemic. They don't assume what's best for the people. They take the time to build relationships with our community and to truly understand their needs. I cannot think of a better organization than Education Alliance to lead this project. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Josh Notchwitz.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Nakowitz. I'm the Senior Vice President for Economic Development at the Alliance for Downtown New York. We are the business improvement district that represents Lower Manhattan and the financial district. What was overwhelmingly once almost entirely commercial and business district, Lower Manhattan is now a vibrant and mixed-use community, home to over 63,000 residents and a diverse mix of over 1,000 restaurants and retailers. Brookville Properties and Silverstein Properties' proposed redevelopment project at Site 5 would help complete the World Trade Center redevelopment and contribute greatly to Lower Manhattan's long-term success and prosperity and our continued recovery from the devastating impacts of the COVID pandemic. The Downtown Alliance has long advocated for the redevelopment of Lower Manhattan into a mixed-use and vibrant district. The residential and retail uses being proposed at Site 5 are consistent with the broader planning principles that guided the redevelopment of Lower Manhattan since September 11th. Bringing new residents into the area is more important now than ever as we continue to recover from COVID and continue to try to grow the customer base for our local retailers and restaurants. Everybody acknowledges that far too little affordable housing has been built in our community in Lower Manhattan. While over 21,000 housing units have been built in the district since 2000, only 552 of those units have been affordable. The current proposal would add 360 new permanently affordable housing units for families in Community Board 1. Those 360 units represent 65% of the total number of units that have been built over the previous generation in Lower Manhattan. Not only does this project provide that many units, it does so without public subsidy and with permanent affordability. It's worth noting that the cost of additional subsidies from public sources would come at an unusually high cost per unit, as we heard in the presentation earlier, that could be tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in additional scarce public funding. At a time when the volume of need throughout the city for affordable housing is so huge and so pressing, that is a stark sum of public dollars to commit to one single project. Lastly, one of the earliest goals embraced by the World Trade Center planning process was reconnecting the campus to the surrounding community. By adding much needed retail and a great community facility and vibrancy to Greenwich Street, the proposed Site 5 project would substantially improve the pedestrian environment in the area south of the World Trade Center. Now, it finally realized the long-standing goal of fully restoring Greenwich Street as an attractive and pedestrian-friendly corridor. On behalf of our board of directors, the Downtown Alliance strongly encourages ESD to approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria Fariello.
Thank you and good morning, directors. Thank you for having me. My name is Victoria Fariello. I'm a district leader here in Lower Manhattan. I am also a member of the Coalition for 100% Affordable 5 World Trade Center. Before I begin, I want to note that, as Toby said, the LMDC has had over 30 public meetings. At every single one of these public meetings, the community has said over and over again, we need more affordable housing. Over the last 20 years, we've lost over 6,000 units of affordable housing. So while we appreciate, and we do appreciate the offer made to bring 360 affordable units or 300 units, it's not making a dent in what we have lost. I'd also like to note that the union members that were previously mentioned would not be able to live in this building that we are going to build. And respectfully, I'm going to say the question you need to ask yourself is, if you want to be part of a legacy that builds 900 luxury units on public land where 2 firefighters perished in the midst of a housing crisis, or are you willing to work with the community and our elected officials to build a truly affordable building that can house the very people who rebuilt Lower Manhattan, our first responders and our 9/11 survivors? You don't need to proceed with this plan right now. This building is prohibitively expensive. So I urge you to do the right thing. I urge you to demand a plan with 100% affordable housing at the site. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Anya Horberger.
Good morning, distinguished directors and chair. My name is Anya Hoberger. I serve as interim president and CEO of Educational Alliance, and I'm here today to voice our strong support for the development of 5 World Trade Center. For those of you who don't know EA, we are a nonprofit network of community centers that have served the people in Lower Manhattan for over 130 years. EA was originally founded to meet the needs of Jewish immigrants arriving in the United States. Although the demographics of the communities we serve have changed over time, human needs have not, and neither has our mission to help all people realize their version of the American dream. Today, our network of community centers and community-based programs includes 4 brick and mortar centers across Lower Manhattan, serving over 50,000 New Yorkers in an average year. As you heard from my colleague Daisy, no matter which of our programs or centers you engage with, our message is the same: you belong here. Our goal is to turn strangers into neighbors and make high-quality, transformational community programs and social services accessible to all New Yorkers. At the Manny Cantor Center, for example, all of our programs and services are economically integrated and offered at sliding scale rates, including free of charge. Our board's strategic vision for the organization over the next several years includes exploring ways to increase our impact in Lower Manhattan. The prospect of operating a community space in 5 World Trade Center is well aligned with these goals. We also think 5 World Trade Center is an incredible opportunity to extend our mission to provide high-quality services to all New Yorkers. In a building with different uses, as well as residents from many different backgrounds, a community space operated by EA offers a unique opportunity to bring people together in a brand new world-class facility. EA's involvement with the Five World Trade Center project began when the Manny Cantor Center was recommended to the developers as the best-in-class model of a community facility in Lower Manhattan. We have since entered into agreement to be the operator of the facility at Five World Trade Center, and we are grateful for this chance to extend our mission to another neighborhood in Lower Manhattan. As with everything we do at EA, our first step will be a thorough community needs assessment to ensure we understand which programs are most needed by the people living, learning, working, and raising their families in this part of Manhattan, and how we can be most impactful. This work will help us determine the types of programs we ultimately offer at Five World Trade Center Community Facility. We will also conduct a public survey so that we can better understand the community's needs, wants, and hopes for our work. Thank you for your time this morning. I hope I have communicated how excited our organization is by the chance to operate a community facility in the new Five World Trade Center building, how seriously we take that responsibility, and how aligned this new space will be with our current mission to bring high-quality transformational programs to all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our speakers this item.
Okay. Thank you, Joel, and thank you to all the folks who came out and spoke. Let's see. Toby, question for you. If I heard you correct, by us approving this today, there's still a decent window of time, up to almost a year, 8 months to 12 months for the elected officials and the community groups to try to cobble together additional public funds. Is that correct?
That's correct. With today's approvals, the proposed project would provide for a minimum of 30% of the units as permanently affordable. However, that doesn't preclude the ability to increase affordability at the project. While the cost of it is high, we are affording for an additional year, so until April 2024, to be able to, in coordination with the coalition, with the electeds and various stakeholders, identify a subsidy source to be able to increase affordability at the project.
Very good. Thank you, Toby. Do any directors have any other questions? If not, then I'm going to move this item to approve it. And I want to just reconfirm for the record what we're actually approving. We are affirming the revised amendment to the MGPP, voting to override local zoning regulations as set forth in the materials that we received. We're making a determination of responsibility with respect to the developer and the development partners. We're authorizing the acquisition and disposition of real property in accordance with and contingent on receiving all approvals under the Public Authorities Law. And we're authorizing staff for the execution of the initial agreement, the lease, the project documents, and the lease administration agreement, and authorizing the taking of any other actions related to the foregoing. So that is my motion, and Hilda, you second
Yes.
the motion. All board members, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Any abstentions? None. The motion is approved. Thank you very much. We're going to continue on now with the rest of the agenda with the projects and the regional project section, starting with the Finger Lakes region, where we have 2 items and 2 separate votes. And I'm going to ask Laura Fox O'Sullivan, the regional director of ESD's Finger Lakes region, for her presentation. Laura, you are on the phone, I believe.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you so much, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. We're asking the directors to approve a $2 million capital grant for the Strong National Museum of Play from the Regional Council Capital Fund Round 11. The grant supports a portion of the costs for construction and renovation of the 29,000 square foot welcome atrium and a 5,000 square foot portal of play, which creates an architectural focal point in the nearby neighborhood of Play, which is truly transformational to the downtown landscape in Rochester and driving tourists and economic activity to the museum and the surrounding area. This is a total project cost of $15 million. Can I take any questions on this one?
No questions here, Laura.
All right, next up we have the Junior Achievement Discovery Center at Eastman Business Park. We're asking the directors to approve a $562,000 capital grant to Junior Achievement of Upstate New York from the Regional Capital Fund Round 7. The grant supports the establishment of the Paychex Junior Achievement Discovery Center, which is a nearly $3 million project. The Discovery Center is a proven model that has been implemented in 30 cities across the U.S., with the Rochester location being the first in New York State for junior achievement. The Discovery Center is a transformative, state-of-the-art learning environment that brings their curriculum to life and enables students to test their skills in an interactive ecosystem with the guidance of business professionals and mentors, serving as an inclusive education and community resource for all. The student experience at the center will be supported by 13 hours of curriculum in the classroom per semester, and they will experience the jobs, products, and services that are authentic to the organizations that make up the Finger Lakes regional economy. The center will be located within the city of Rochester in a 19,000 square foot space at the Eastman Business Park. The center expects to serve over 10,000 middle and high school students per year, many of whom are impacted by poverty. Can I take any questions on this one?
Any questions for Laura? Hearing none. All right. We need to have two separate votes. The first vote is Hilda, this is the item you'll be recusing yourself. So let the record reflect that Hilda Rosario recuses herself on item 3A. And so I will move that. Sherry seconds it. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. And one abstention, and the motion carries. The next item that Laura presented to us for Discovery Center, I will move it. John Wang, you second it. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. No abstentions. Both matters approved. Laura, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll now move to the Central New York region, where we have 3 items and 3 separate votes. And we have James Fail, our Regional Director of ESD Central New York Region. And Jim, why don't we, after each presentation, we'll do the vote, and then you could go on to the second presentation.
All right, sounds good. Good morning. The first project that the board is being asked to approve is a $484,000 grant for Cortland Downtown Partnership, which is a nonprofit organization that is focused on preserving downtown Cortland's architectural aspect, as well as developing commerce and culture in downtown Cortland. This helped to, the funding helped to bridge some funding shortages during the renovation process. The main focus was to renovate a 4,900 square foot building in downtown to create 2 market rate apartments and a business incubator center. Previously, this project had also received some Restore New York funding, which the board approved back in 2018. Let's take any questions.
Any questions for Jim on this? Hearing none. There are no comments from the public, nor were there any comments from the public on the 2 Finger Lakes votes that we just spoke, that we just voted on. So I will move this. Benson, you second. Any comments, questions? None. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Jim, continue.
The second project the board is being asked to approve is a $314,000 grant to Home Headquarters, which is a nonprofit housing and community development organization here in Syracuse. This was a round 7 award through the regional council process. And this project was to focus on the rehabilitation of underutilized buildings in the Syracuse area, mostly in the distressed areas of Syracuse. Any questions?
Any questions? None. I will move the matter. Hilda seconds it. Any questions? None. No comments from the public. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Jim, your third item?
All right, the board is being asked to approve a $21 million grant to Northeast UAS Aerospace Integration Research Alliance, also known as New Air. This is an alliance with private industry, academic institutions, military assets. This is working together with the FAA to designate a 50-mile corridor test site between Rome and Syracuse. This project has been completed and is operational. Questions?
Okay. Don't see any questions. Again, like all the items, the materials were shared with the board members ahead of the meeting, which were reviewed. We have no questions from the public. I will move it. John Wang seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Jim. We will now head to Michael Yavoli, the Regional Director of ESD's Capital Region, for a presentation.
Good morning. Today, I am requesting the directors approve a $400,000 capital grant to Sisters Property LLC for a portion of the costs associated with the renovation of 2 historic properties and related site improvements along the waterfront on the Catskill Creek in the village of Catskill in Greene County. The project is a CREDC Round 9 priority project and a total project cost of $3.7 million. Sisters Property LLC is a privately owned real estate development company created with the sole purpose of renovating the 4-land campus in Catskill. Prior to this grant award, in April 2018, the Village of Catskill was awarded a $1 million Restore New York 5 grant to support a $4.3 million investment in the 4-land building itself, a blighted historic 5-story, 48,000 square foot former furniture mill and warehouse, which sat vacant for decades. After commencement of the Restore project, the developer, Sister Properties, learned of structural issues with the building that significantly increased the overall cost to complete the project. Also in 2019, the grantee decided to apply to Round 9 of CFA, requesting additional funds to support the higher cost of completing the 4-land project and also to renovate the neighboring Book House building, a 3-story vacant historic building located on the same site. The grant, the CFA grant, supports the renovation of both of these historic side-by-side mills that have sat vacant again for decades, and the related site improvements over 100 yards along the waterfront on the Catskill Creek. The project represents a waterfront art district in the historic zone that was previously neglected. These sister properties, as they're called, have created a private sector art-related venue that services the creatives in Greene County and beyond. The project includes over 60,000 square feet of historically renovated space connecting Main Street to the waterfront. And in total, the Sister Properties spent $15 million on these projects, so far exceeding the amount required under the grant. Components include 34 art studio spaces. There's a waiting list for those. Co-working space, 3 art gallery spaces that are programmable, a restaurant, and over 100 yards of reclaimed and programmed waterfront space along the Catskill Creek. In addition, the Book House serves as a full-service event space with multiple event rooms and 2 lodging units. The project connects with the Capital Region Economic Development Council's regional strategy of core, strengthening our communities at their core and making them more attractive to talent and private investment, as well as supporting the creative arts and tourism. Questions?
Any questions for Michael? If not, we have not received any comments from the public on this either. So I will move it. Kevin Eunice seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Michael, are you doing the next item, or is Steve Garlick doing the next item from the regional capital?
Steve's up, I believe.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm here. Thank you.
Today's the board, we're asking the board to approve a $22 million grant to the New York Center for Research, Economic Advancement, Technology, Engineering, and Science Corp., more commonly known as New York Creates. New York Creates is a not-for-profit entity that manages the Albany Nanotech campus and the other high-tech related projects across New York State. The grant is going to be used by New York Creates to start the design of a new building with approximately 45,000 square foot clean room at the Albany campus. The expanded space will allow New York Creates to accommodate current partner growth on the campus and hopefully to land competing for the National Semiconductor Technology Center, which will be funded by the Federal Chips and Science Act passed last year. So the overall project will ensure that the Albany campus remains at the forefront of chip R&D capabilities. Are there any questions?
No, but a very, very impressive acronym, if I say so, Steve. So
yeah, I had to review that a few times, so I didn't mess it up.
Acronyms to be our strong suit.
Yeah, very good.
You wouldn't believe how much time it took to come up with that, baby.
Oh, I bet, but I'm saying it's very, very impressive. Well done. I will move it. Kevin Eunice seconds it. No questions from the public on this item? Any other questions from the board members? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. We are now going to move to the Mid-Hudson region. And Tom Scaglione, he's our regional director, has a presentation to make.
Good morning. Thank you. The directors are requested to approve a $350,000 regional council capital grant from round 12 for the Center for Photography at Woodstock, the CPW 25 Diedrich Street Capital Project, located in the city of Kingston in Ulster County. The Center for Photography at Woodstock, or CPW, has invested $2.1 million to acquire a vacant historic building in the Midtown Arts District of Kingston, Ulster County. The building acquisition will allow the Center for Photography at Woodstock to relocate from a 1,500 square foot leased storefront in the city of Kingston into a 40,000 square foot, 4-story commercial building. The project will result in the creation of 6 permanent full-time jobs and 5 retained permanent full-time jobs at the project location over the next 5 years. The building acquisition is the first phase in CPW's plans to expand its programming by consolidating its operations under one roof. In a future phase, the building will be rehabilitated and transformed into its new headquarters and adaptively reused for a photography museum, gallery, and community educational center. The building was formerly the Vance Like Cigar Factory, built in 1907. The Center for Photography of Woodstock is a not-for-profit 501c3 artist-centered organization dedicated to supporting artists working in photography and related media. Founded in Woodstock in 1977, it has established itself as a venerable arts institution that provides a community-based venue for arts education, exhibitions, and workforce training programs. CPW's collection includes approximately 2,500 works of photography, including major holdings of notable photographers such as Bruce Davidson, Joel Meyerowitz, and Aaron Siskin, and is a magnet for attracting emerging artists in photography and related media. CPW's newly acquired headquarters' intended uses will create a significant cultural hub in a distressed area targeted for revitalization in one of the Mid-Hudson's Opportunity Agenda areas. The project aligns strongly with the MHRADC's Play strategy, a strategy that seeks to enhance residents' quality of life and strengthen the region's identity as a premier tourist destination due to its rich arts and cultural scene and unique history. And the project will involve the retention and creation of net new jobs, which also aligns with the MHRADC's work strategy. CPW also aligns with the ESD's placemaking strategy, as its exhibitions and community programming are expected to be a large draw for residents and visitors to the city of Kingston's burgeoning arts community. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Tom? Here are none. We have not received any comments from the public. I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. The next item is from Long Island, where Carol Longworth, Regional Director of ESD's Long Island Region, will make a presentation. This is the item I'll be recusing myself on, and so will not be voting. So I'll ask others to make the motion and to second it. But Kara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, directors. The directors are being asked to approve a regional council capital grant of up to $4 million to Suffolk County. And this is to pay for a portion of the cost and design of and construction of a new sanitary force main piping system in Islip, which is, of course, in Suffolk County. This project is complete for a total project cost of just over $30 million. This was a round one priority project for the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council, as it was consistent with the council's strategy to make critical infrastructure investments to support placemaking, remove blight, and encourage job growth and transit-oriented development. When the county first applied for this grant in 2011, they were planning to build a new sewer treatment plant in the town of Islip near the Ronkonkoma train station and the MacArthur Airport. This part of Suffolk County was unsewered at the time, and the lack of sewers inhibited future development. There was significant development potential on both sides of the railroad station, which is one of the busiest in the region. There was over 200 available acres there for future development. Several years after this grant was awarded, the county did an engineering study and determined that rather than a sewer treatment plant, it would be better to build a force main system and a pump station and direct the sanitary flow to the Southwest Sewer District and the recently upgraded Bergen Point wastewater treatment plant. That is a project that they proceeded with and that they've completed today. As a result of this sewer project, the north side of the railroad tracks is currently being developed. It's a project that this board is familiar with, called Station Yards, or formerly known as the Ronkonkoma Hub. This development will ultimately include nearly 1,500 housing units and commercial space. Also, the county is currently developing a plan to develop the 170 acres that are on the south side of the tracks. The pump station and sewer main, as completed, can service up to 1.5 million gallons per day, and the Station Yards project, when completed, will only use about 400,000, or 27% of that capacity. So there remains significant more capacity for future development in the area as a result of this project. This project was completed in 2020, and it is ready for disbursement. Happy to answer any questions.
As Chairman Law noted, he will recuse himself from this item. Are there any questions or comments from the directors? Again, noting no comments from the public, I would entertain a motion for approval. Second?
Second.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Kara. Thank you, Kevin. The next we will hear from Kelly Baccarizzo, our Director of Tourism Grant Programs for Market New York Grant Programs, and we have two items.
Yes, good morning to everyone this morning. The first project is for Historic Hudson Valley. They are located in the Mid-Hudson region. They are a not-for-profit educational and historic preservation organization headquartered in Tarrytown, New York. In November of 2022, round 12 of the Regional Economic Development Council, HHV, was awarded a Market New York Working Capital Grant in the amount of $421,000. This grant supports a portion of the cost to produce and promote an internationally renowned tourism special event, the Great Jack-O-Lantern Blaze. The Blaze, as it's otherwise known, is a multi-location Halloween-themed event that delights millions of visitors with a spectacularly spooky walkthrough experience where thousands of hand-carved pumpkins in elaborate displays light up the night. With event locations in both Nassau and Westchester County, it's a magical, family-friendly tourism experience for all ages, increasing tourism visitation and spending in both the Mid-Hudson and the Long Island regions of New York. The project is in the planning stages now, with the event scheduled to take place for a 4 to 5 week time period set for mid-September through mid-November 2023. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer it for this project.
Okay, do we need two separate votes on these two items? No? Okay, and no questions? So Kelly, continue with item B.
Absolutely. The second project for Market New York this month is Gym Rat Basketball LLC, based in the Capital District. They are a limited liability company that organizes and hosts the largest basketball event of its kind in eastern United States. Gym Rat was awarded a tourism working capital grant of $353,000 from Market New York in November 2022 under Round 12 of the Regional Economic Development Council. The organization will use the funds to develop and promote a marketing campaign to attract competitors, spectators, driving visitation to the overall capital region and generating the maximum impact through overnight stays and visitor spending. This project is currently underway and is scheduled to be completed no later than December 2024. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer for this project.
Any questions for Kelly? Hearing none, I will move it. John Wong seconds it. No comments from the public. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Okay, now we're going to at the direction of projects, and we have Simone Bethune, our senior project manager and coordinator of projects for loans and grants, and she has several projects, and again, we doing all of them in one vote. One vote, very good. So Simone, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Law. Good morning, everyone. As a reminder, at the direction of grants refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance the state's communities through cultural, educational, research and development, and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding but does not select the recipients of funding. For the first item, we're seeking director's approval of a $500,000 local assistance award to the Center State CEO at the direction of New York State Assembly through Assembly Member Albert Stripe of the 127th District. This funding, provided under the 2022-2023 budget, will support Center State CEO objectives to advance strategic industries in the central New York region and promote diversity and inclusivity in the local business community, particularly in the unmanned aerial systems and semiconductor industries. Project activities will take place between April 2022 through December 2024 and will include tasks such as locating and advertising shovel-ready development opportunities, recruiting businesses in key industry supply chains, and conducting outreach via trade shows. The next item requests director's approval of a $500,000 appropriation to the Queens Chamber of Commerce, the oldest and largest business association in the borough. Funding was made available from the Local Assistance Program at the direction of State Assemblyperson Catherine Nolan of the 37th District in the 22-23 New York State budget. Grant funds will be used to support business outreach and technical assistance to Queens-based businesses, as well as businesses looking to relocate to Queens through various programs, including but not limited to Next Stop Queens and the Queens Tech Council. The initiatives will seek to educate, market, and advance the economic well-being of the Queens-based business community. This project is expected to be complete in March 2024. The next item, we are seeking director's approval of a $12 million appropriation made to Long Island University. This award, included in the 2015-2016 budget, as part of a larger $400 million appropriation from which the funds for this project are derived, will be funded from the Transformative Investment Program at the direction of the Executive Chamber. LIU has become one of America's largest comprehensive private universities, offering more than 500 academic programs across multiple campuses, spanning the New York metropolitan area, overseas, and online. These funds are being made available for the LIU's College of Veterinary Medicine to support the construction of new facilities for the college, including the 33,100 square foot Vet Learning Center building and the 16,400 square foot Vet Teaching and Research Center. Total project cost is estimated to be approximately $55 million, and construction began in June 2017 and was complete in January 2023. The college anticipates full capacity enrollment of 400 students by August 2023. For the next 5 items, letter D through H on the calendar, the directors are being asked to approve 5 appropriations to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce totaling $675,000. These 5 appropriations are being made from the Local Assistance Program, from the 2022-23 New York State budget, and will be sponsored by New York State Senators Bill Mary, Roxanne Persaud, Andrew Bernardes, and New York State Assemblyperson Marcela Martinez. As a not-for-profit organization and an affiliate of the Brooklyn Alliance Incorporated, the Brooklyn Chamber is a main driver of community and economic development across the borough's diverse neighborhoods through services to employers in the New York City region. The grant funds will be applied to operating expenses in support of 3 programs: Brooklyn Goes Global, Good Help, and Brooklyn Bridge to Employment Career Expos. Brooklyn Goes Global featured the 2022 Summer Fancy Food Show, supporting at least 5,000 exhibitors. The Good Help program, the Alliance's boutique job placement service, will allow the Alliance to serve at least 50 businesses and make at least 30 job placements and screen at least 200 candidates. Finally, the Brooklyn Chamber will host 4 career expos to facilitate the hiring needs of local Brooklyn employers and the needs of local job seekers. Grant funding will be applied to these programs through December 2023. I can take any questions.
Any questions for Simone on any of these items? All right. And again, these are at the direction of the state legislature, and the governor have approved these projects, and we're the agency where they are facilitated through. They have to go through some agency, and it's us. And staff then coordinates all of the legal requirements with the applicants. So I will move all of these. John, you second them? We have no questions from the public on this. Are there any other comments from the directors? We'll take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion for all of these carries. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
And our last item on the agenda are the administrative actions. Doug Janice, our senior counsel, will walk us through about 9 items. And again, we get to approve all of these with one vote. But Doug, some of these are important, so take your time and walk us through these.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, directors. As the chairman just reminded you, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative action section of the agenda. So you each receive a full set of written descriptive materials for each of these items in your materials, as you have for this meeting. But rather than having individual oral presentations on each, I will provide a brief summary of the items. And at the conclusion of the summary, staff will entertain any questions or comments the directors have. We actually have 10 items this morning, so the 10 items submitted for your consideration today and for which you have received written materials are summarized as follows. Item 5A is relative to the disposition of the Livingston Correctional Facility to the Livingston County Industrial Development Agency. The Livingston Correctional Facility, currently owned by both Empire State Development and the state, will be transferred to the Livingston County IDA for redevelopment as a business park. This transfer furthers the goals of the Prison Redevelopment Commission's report. Directors are asked to take the following actions: make a determination of no significant effect on the environment, authorize the acquisition of portions of the Livingston facility owned by the state, authorize the disposition and conveyance of fee title to the Livingston County IDA, and authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Item 5B is relative to the authorization to enter into an amended contract to extend the term and provide additional operating support for the operation and administration of the Northland Workforce Training Center. The directors are asked to authorize a contract amendment with Economic Development Group, Inc., or EDG, the not-for-profit entity that operates the Northland Workforce Training Center on the east side of Buffalo, New York. EDG was originally selected in 2016 via a competitive procurement, and their contract expires in June. Under the amendment, the contract term would be extended 5 years through June 30th, 2028. In addition, $9 million in operating support will be provided over the extended term, with EDG receiving no more than $2 million in any single year. Item 5C is relative to authorization to enter into a contract with Tilson Technology Management, Inc. The Connect All office is seeking directors' approval to enter into a new contract with Tilson Technology Management from July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, not to exceed $268,959 to complete all remaining technical validation reviews for the New York State Broadband Program. Pilsen was originally competitively contracted in 2017 through a pre-qualified list and was the only vendor to bid on multiple solicitations. Based on the facts that they've been the only vendor to bid for these services throughout the program, they are familiar with ESD's processes and requirements, and they are best positioned to complete the reviews of the remaining projects. This vendor's continued services are being procured as a single source contract. Item 5D is relative to the approval of a land bank application for Essex County. Directors are being asked to approve a land bank application submitted by Essex County. A land bank is a not-for-profit corporation created by local governments to assist with the problem of vacant, abandoned, and tax-delinquent properties. Per the law creating the land bank program, ESD approval is required before a land bank can be formed. Staff have reviewed the application submitted by Essex County and believe that a strong case has been made that a land bank will be successful in that community. Items 5E and 5F are relative to authorization to enter into contracts for legal services in connection with a development site located at 260 to 270 West 126th Street in New York. Item 5E is for the retention of Mitzner Mausch, PLLC, to serve as environmental counsel for the project. And item 5F is for the retention of Phillips Lytle, LLP, to serve as real estate counsel for the project. Both contracts will have terms of 2 years with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year extensions and shall not exceed $500,000. Both firms were selected via mini bid from the pre-qualified list and have agreed to bill at rates not to exceed ESD's published maximum compensation rate schedule. Item 5G is relative to the relocation of ESD's office space from 633 3rd Avenue to 655 3rd Avenue in New York, and is authorization to enter into a new lease space or new office lease at 655 3rd Avenue. This is a request to enter into a new office lease at 655 3rd Avenue, New York, and relocate from our current office space at 633 3rd Avenue. This lease will be entered into with landlord DOLP 655 Properties 2 LLC, which is an affiliate of the Durst organization. ESD will occupy floors 2 through 6 with 117,181 square feet of space and an additional 5,396 square feet of concourse space, totaling 122,577 rentable square feet. That lease will commence in spring of 2024 following the substantial completion of the construction work by the landlord in the office space. I was also asked to note that ESD's current lease with time equities will be extended for approximately 1 year until ESD can move into the newly renovated premises. Item 5H is relative to authorization to extend the lease with International Business Machines Corporation, commonly known as IBM, and to make corresponding modifications to the general project plan, authorization to hold public hearings, and authorization to take related actions. This is a request to extend the lease with IBM. IBM proposes to extend the lease in GPP for Lot B from 2023 through June 30th, 2028, and have the option to purchase back the property at lease termination. This agreement has existed since 1995, when ESD facilitated IBM's construction of a new corporate headquarters building on Lot B by entering into a sale-leaseback agreement in which IBM conveyed its Lot B to ESD, and ESD simultaneously leased Lot B back to IBM through 2023. The lease will continue to provide IBM with certain tax benefits, including reduced real estate taxes via an agreed-upon payment in lieu of taxes or pilot agreement. IBM will continue to pay the pilot under the lease directly to the town of Newcastle. Item 5I is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for IT-related procurement on the Azure Marketplace platform from Dell Marketing. IT is requesting authorization to enter into a contract with Dell Marketing for its Azure Marketplace platform. The Azure Marketplace platform includes over 5,000 IT management tools, including several services needed to develop, implement, manage, and report on ESD's growing number of programs. SharePoint, Azure, Microsoft Dynamics, and Power BI are just some of these tools. And Dell Marketing has been awarded an OGS contract to provide state agencies with the subscriptions for these services within the Azure Marketplace. The term of this contract shall be for 3 years at a cost not to exceed $1.5 million. Our final item, item 5J, is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for professional services related to on-premises and cloud end user computing interface support. IT is requesting authorization to enter into a contract with Z7 Solutions LLC for these services. Z7 Solutions will consult on a variety of aspects of ESD's IT framework, including VMware, Dell EMC, Carbon Black, Wise, NVIDIA, Google, and Microsoft. Their expertise is key to assisting ESD in maintaining a robust, secure network environment. They will also provide all operating system and application support that runs on the virtual desktop infrastructure. Z7 is being procured as a discretionary purchase as the vendor is a certified MWBE. The term of this contract shall be for 18 months at a cost not to exceed $432,300. I will now turn this back over to the chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today as well to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. The backup material for all these items was shared with the board and was on our director's desk as well. Doug, one question on item G. If everything went smooth, when would we expect to vacate our current space and move into the new space? Do we have sort of a target month for that?
Sure, but I'm going to turn this over to Ashley Larison, and she's going to give you an idea of the proposed timeline.
Thank you.
April 24th. Yeah, both.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, it'll occur over the, essentially on Friday we'll be here and on Monday we'll be there.
Is that right? Yeah, over a weekend.
Yeah.
That'll be impressive. So next spring, April, if everything goes smooth.
Correct.
And we're going to get more space for all our needs at cheaper rent. Bottom line, sounds like a good deal.
Yes.
Right.
Upgrades, substantial IT upgrades, and yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Great. All right. Any directors have any other questions on any of these items? We have not received a comment from the public on any of these items. I will move, and for the last time in her capacity as a board member of the ESD Board of Directors, Sherry is second. Will second the item. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. There is no other official business for the board. Does any board member have any other item they'd like to raise at this time? Hearing none, I want to thank staff for a good job on a lot of the items. And when I jumped to the item after the World Trade Center, I didn't see her exit, but Arta, please let Toby know. The board members thought she did a terrific job on a very complicated transaction, and she walked us through it, in a terrific way. So for you and your team who handled all of that and everybody else who was involved in that matter, thank you. Again, I want to thank Sherry for her service. Our next meeting is 1 month from today, Thursday, June 22nd here. And so thank everybody for participating in the meeting, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Are we having a governance committee meeting?
We're going
to do that. Well, we're not going to do it. Oh,
okay.
Oh.
Right.
So there's no other committee meetings after this board meeting, and so we are officially adjourned.
I did it 3 times last week.
Oh, God. Going is when.
So wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you, and good luck to your son.
Yeah, thanks. We graduated.